So now's a great opportunity. If you did order dinner or are having dinner, please feel free to grab it, except for those of us that are speaking for the next little while. We invite you to enjoy your meal. If you'd like to at this time, we would ask you to please mute your lines. And if you're not one of the speakers this evening, please shut off your video, as our recording will be much cleaner if we do that. I would like to start this evening by acknowledging that we are meeting virtually on the unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, and why I have not gone specific to our bands from Langley is I don't know where all of you are sitting, so I'm going to cover off by saying Coast Salish people, hoping that you are joining us today from somewhere in the Lower Mainland. I would like to also acknowledge this evening our sponsors, the Port of Vancouver. We couldn't do what we've been doing and continue to offer programs and services without our fantastic sponsors in the background. So thank you to the Port of Vancouver for sticking with us and coming back on as the sponsor for the event this evening. We accepted some pre-submitted questions for this evening. If you did want to add another question, you can do so by using the Slido app. We do have it up. You can add a question to that, and I will be moderating those. From there, we do have, like I said, a large list of questions that we will be going over. And if we have time, we'll get to the ones on Slido. For the most part, I don't know that we'll have that opportunity this evening because we are limited for time. It's not the same as an hour panel that we would normally have while we were enjoying dinner and a beverage together. We cannot, as I mentioned, the GLCC June 2020 is the hashtag for the Slido link. It's up on your screen right now. I would also now like to take a minute to introduce our board members and VIPs that are attending this evening. Our Vice President, Ken Dennis, the Dennis Network of Companies from the Chamber Board of Directors. Our Community Director for South Langley, Allison Colleen from CBM Lawyers. Community Director North Langley, Frank Buckholtz. Our Director, Joan Saunders from KPU. Our Director, Cynthia Drager from Mortgage Alliance. And our elected officials and most of our panel this evening joining us, MP Tako Van Popta, MP Tamara Jansen, MLA Rich Coleman, MLA Mary Polak, Mayor Jack Froese, Mayor Val Vandenbroek, Councillor Gail Martin from the City of Langley, Councillor Rudy Stortenboom from the City of Langley, and Councillor Terry James from the City of Langley. I'm going to go through and give you a brief overview of tonight's events and some of the chamber updates that we're hosting, and then we'll move forward. First off, I'd like to announce that we are super excited. That's why I'm wearing my GLCC golf shirt this evening, that we will be bringing you our golf tournament on September 3rd at Redwoods. We're taking care to make sure that all the proper safety procedures are in place. We can still have a really fun day on the course with our sponsors, followed by our famous steak and lobster dinner. It won't be the same. We won't be hosting a large event banquet together, but it will be consecutive golfing. As you golf and come off the course, you can come and enjoy lunch or dinner, depending on what time you tee off. And it'll still be a great day on the course. We're really looking forward to it. So please watch your inbox and for other information later this week. I want to take a moment to thank most of you that registered this evening. We are overwhelmed by your support. We started a Pay What You Can program about a week and a half ago. We know that we're not offering you dinner and things have changed with how we're offering our networking and other programs. For those of you who have participated in our Pay What You Can program, we really appreciate it. You've paid for some of our technology needs that we've done for this last little while. And again, we appreciate your support. It's not business as usual for anybody right now, but we are open for business. I'm very pleased to say that this week the Chamber office is now back open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. The small change that we've made to our schedule is we will be closed from 12 to 1 for lunch. Not all of our team is returning to the office full time, and this way it enables us to guarantee that the staff that are in the office actually get a lunch break. So we do ask if you're coming in for certificates of origin or a special request or something else you want to do, please give us a call and make an appointment. We have a small opening space and we want to make sure we keep everybody safe and healthy. So we don't need a lineup or 5 people showing up at the door at once because we don't have room to accommodate. Again, some of us are still working remotely some days. Please contact our main office line and we'll be happy to connect you with our team member that can help you with anything. Unfortunately, the Port of Vancouver was unable to join us for the full event this evening, so I am going to speak on their behalf briefly. The Port of Vancouver is, as well as us, open for business, and now more than ever, they're continuing to work hard to keep the port functioning efficiently to ensure that local businesses and residents have the goods they need to weather this storm. A big thank you to the terminal workers, marine pilots, railroaders, truck drivers, and everyone in between who are pulling together to keep all of our goods moving for Canadians. The Port of Vancouver has been an ongoing supporter of the Greater Langley Chamber of Commerce, its members, and our community, working with our organization and community leaders to improve transportation and the movement of goods and services in our region. The Greater Langley Chamber is grateful for the Port's ongoing support, and we look forward to working together to grow our community as we move forward. It is now my pleasure to introduce Christy Meyer, our Member Relations Director, to give the new members report.
There we are. Hi, everyone. Good evening, Chamber members and guests. It's my pleasure to present the membership report this evening. The purpose of this report is to recognize new members and, of course, to request your approval to accept these new applicants into our Greater Langley Chamber of Commerce. Before I introduce the new members here this evening, I will advise you of the new applicants who are unfortunately unable to join us this evening. Monster Autolab, One Stop Fundraising, Inc. And now I will announce the member that is here with us tonight. It's Gemma Martini with Martini Film Studios. Gemma, if you want to just say a quick hello, if you want to unmute yourself.
Button.
Hi, Gemma.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us, and it's a pleasure to be part of the Commerce.
Welcome to the Chamber. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
If I can please have a motion to accept these new applicants into the membership, please. If I can get someone to unmute, please, that would be great.
I motion. Allison Killeen.
Thank you, Allison.
And a seconder?
Cynthia.
Thanks, Cynthia. Awesome.
Thank you very much, Christy. It is my pleasure to give you an advocacy update on behalf of our president, Brad Kendall. He had a urgent matter in that he had to take care of his lovely son this evening, so he's asked me to step in for him. He again had wanted to thank everybody and our sponsors for joining us tonight. We just wanted to provide you with a brief update from this week's funding programs for the federal COVID assistance. So this morning, yesterday, the CEBA, the Canadian Emergency Business Account, it was announced that it's being expanded to include owner-operator sole proprietorships, businesses that pay via dividends, and businesses with only contractor employees. This program provides the interest-free loan for $40,000 with a fully 25% potentially forgivable if you pay it back in time. This change comes into effect on Friday. So I would suggest to anybody here that has previously applied and been told that they did not fit the criteria to please reconsider after Friday reapplying and see if the new criteria works for you. If it doesn't work for you and there's still other concerns, please contact myself or your MPs and let them know. We are all working diligently in the background to make sure that government understands where the loose holes are, where we need to fill the cracks in to make sure that everybody is supported by these programs. As we all probably heard this morning, the Prime Minister announced this AM that the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, otherwise known as CERB, will be extended by 8 more weeks to provide assistance to those that just cannot go back to work or find work. Please also be advised that they will be fine-tuning this program, and if they find that you are able to work or been asked back to work and you don't have extenuating circumstances, there could be some repercussions. Those are not yet have been announced, but there are some scenarios in the background there. Also announced last week, the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy will be extended until August to assist businesses with reopening. They are working on easing some of the application requirements. And as a network through the Chamber, through the Canadian Chamber and the BC Chamber, we've been diligently advocating for this to be expanded on a sliding scale measure moving forward and looking at expanding it until December to help businesses move off of it and wean them off. So that's been some of the programs and services that we have new announcements for. And I would encourage any of you that are still seeking information on these or other programs, please contact our office or check out our website for further details. Drop me a call. We're here to help. That's what we've been doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do. If we can help anybody figure out how to get on these programs, hire back your staff or stay open, we're willing to do so. It is, I'm going to stop sharing that now. And it is my pleasure to introduce our panel for this evening. I did quickly introduce all of our attendees, but I'm going to quickly go through now and give a quick heads up as to who is attending this evening. MP Tako Van Popta, MP Tamara Jansen, MLA Rich Coleman, MLA Mary Polak, Mayor Jack Froese, and definitely last but not least, Mayor Val van den Broek. And I only did it by township first, city second. That's how I went this evening. So if you'd all like to unmute, we can kind of go from here. I'm your friendly moderator for this evening, and I'm thinking that there's so many questions and there's so many of you. Normally you'd just be passing the mics back and forth, having a great time with this, if we've done in the past. But today, where did my questions go? Right behind my membership report. Pardon me, I have multiple pages here. So we're gonna go from here. I'm gonna actually ask each of you, and why don't I start, Mayor Val, why don't we start with you? We'll start from the bottom and go up.
Sure.
One overview of what you've been up to and what you've been working on.
Oh, so many things. So we reduced the taxes. We're starting to reopen. Al Anderson's going to reopen. We're working with the DLBA and the chamber, you wonderful folks, to try to get businesses open and running again and get them the information that they need. We're doing the same thing as the township. We're calling all the businesses just to make contact. Tons of stuff going on. The match is reopened. Yeah, I could go on and on and on. We're still working on SkyTrain, trying to do business as usual. We're still doing building permits and such. We never stopped with that. City staff has been fantastic at keeping up on everything. And I feel really weird because Rich Coleman is looking up at me.
Starts to feel like the Brady Bunch.
I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch all the time when I'm doing these Zoom meetings. So anyway, I will pass that on so everybody else can speak.
Mayor Jack Froese.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a great way to hold a meeting, and becoming quite an expert in holding Zoom meetings, chairing and participating. And you know, it's at first I wondered, but we've been able to get a lot of work done. Last night we had our council meeting by Zoom, and went from 1 p.m. to about 10:30 in the evening. But you know, yeah, we had our discussions. So a lot of work is being done. A lot of development is happening. I think the industry looks at this. Certainly there has been a slowdown, but slowdowns have happened in the past for various reasons. And we are in a very fast growing region, and I think everyone understands that business needs to carry on. So the township is doing the best to keep the business going and learning new ways of doing it, such as this Zoom. A lot of great things happening. We're still working towards getting a new museum and cultural center in Fort Langley. Although, you know, COVID has caused a few challenges there, but it's still moving along. We passed a demolition permit last night to start taking down some of the buildings there when it's appropriate to do so, but that's gone through council. So it is moving ahead, and that's exciting. Working, you know, with the province on the 216 interchange. You know, it's supposed to open. They said winter 2020, but they didn't say which end of 2020 the winter was. But it sounds like it's going to open fairly soon, and that's going to really make a difference in how people move about the township. So some pretty exciting things happening, and you know, we're working through this COVID-19 issue. We're learning how to do business in a new way, and I think it's working with our community and working with everyone to make sure that everyone can find their way through this. And I find some businesses have done extremely well. Some have carried on as usual, and some have really, really suffered. And you know, I think I'm seeing also lots of opportunity and entrepreneurship coming through where businesses have had to really rethink what they're doing to be able to survive. And it's amazing this entrepreneurial spirit that we have in our community. So yeah, so I don't want to take up the whole time, but it's great to be here and do this Zoom talk.
Thank you, Jack. Rich.
Well, how are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I am fine. You know, it's been been an interesting ride for everybody, as you know, and we're all working at different paces on different things. The constituency office has reached out to a telephone tree to the seniors of the community, and they keep feeding back in how they're doing. And if you ever want to feel positive what's going on, phone somebody over the age of 80. They will actually be more positive than most of our generations. I feel like the Maytag repairman up here at the Langley Event Center, because there's nobody in the Langley Event Center with any activity, basically. So a lot of days with my car in the parking lot. So it's really different, but I think together, working with the provincial government, the federal government, and the local governments, we've all done a pretty good job of keeping calm and getting people focused on the best way to get through this pandemic. And we'll do that. The economy will come back. As we go, we have to remember there's going to be some folks are going to have a really tough time, particularly depending on what industry they're in, and we have to be there for them. And remember that to prop them up, and also understand what I'm finding through the office, the social strain that this has had on young people graduating high school, on couples and their families because of the lockdown and the stresses. And so we'll have to be there for everybody and continue to be there.
Great, thanks, Rich. Mary, over to you.
Well, so twofold. Like Rich, we've got constituency office and then work in Victoria. And our constituency office, we very quickly transitioned to having our CAs working from home. And most of you know the two young ladies that work in my office, and they have just been fabulous. I mean, getting everything switched over, all the calls, all the emails, and then quickly connecting, because so many of the programs are federal, but with provincial connections. So I know they've made connections with Tako's office and Tamara's office. And so those staffers have just been working flat out, responding to people's concerns, trying to get them information and trying to get them help. So that's the Langley side of it. And then on the Victoria side of it, those of you in the breakout room heard a little bit about it, but of course, in our world, we're working towards how do we open the legislature come this coming Monday on the 22nd. And so that's been an awful lot of my work together with the other House leaders, is figuring out how do you take a parliamentary democracy and shift it into a mode where we can actually make it function through using tools like Zoom. We think we're ready to do it. We'll all find out on Monday if that's going to work. But it's been incredibly busy. I think I'm not saying anything different from most of the people who are in business, which is when you're working from home, it's like the day doesn't end. So I think we're all dealing with trying to figure that out. But boy, it's been also very satisfying to feel like you can actually contribute when there's so much of a struggle going on here, and know that you can be part of helping people get to the other side of this. And we will, right? We will find a way. So that's been a lot of my attention over the last number of weeks.
Awesome, thanks, Mary. Tamara.
There we go. Sorry. Yes. Oh, I agree with you, Mary. It's been crazy busy. I couldn't have imagined how many hours we would spend on Zoom. But of course, you know, like you say, we have the Cloverdale Langley side where you're calling constituents, you're helping them, whether it's repatriation or whether it's CERB benefits for small businesses, trying to make sure that they have the information they need, making sure our websites are up to date, making sure we're up to date because it changes every day. For myself, when it comes to my Ottawa work, I'm on the health committee, so there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. We sit on Zoom twice a week, and we're looking at how COVID has impacted the health of all Canadians from many different perspectives. We do our caucus meetings, and then of course we do the committee of the whole. Parliament's not actually sitting. So what we get to do is committee of the whole, and that also takes a ton of time, and it's a challenge because you don't have the powers that you would normally have. So in order to make sure that we are holding, you know, the government to account as much as we can, pushing for changes, for instance, to the CERB and to the you know, the wage situation and so forth. It's difficult to do via Zoom, so that's been very tricky. But I think we've made progress. We've managed to get the government to do a lot of things that needed to be done, and we continue to advocate on behalf of of all Canadians, but of course for Cloverdale Langley City in regards to the different benefits. I know I've had a lot of people contacting me in the last 24 hours about the wage subsidy and what is that going to look like going forward. And just making sure that the local concerns are heard at the federal level. Last night we were on a Zoom meeting. We had Pierre Polyev and James Cummings, and we were able to talk to local businesses. Colleen had a bunch of people that she invited as well. And, just to talk about, local ideas of how we can get the economy back up and running and do it safely. So it's been exciting, and I've been very, very thankful to have great staff. So by all means, our office is taking phone calls. And now we can start having some meetings, but you'd have to make an appointment. So yeah, by all means, give us a call. We're here to help.
Great, thanks, Tamara. Tako, last but definitely not least.
Thank you for that. So, like the other speakers, we are very, very busy. Our constituency office is like the phone just keeps on ringing. We're inundated with emails. But my staff is amazing, and we think that we're staying on top of all the requests for information. We've helped a lot of constituents, just with like Tamara said, with repatriation issues, with wage issues, CERB, CEBA. A lot of people that contacted my office were not able to get the loan. The business loan is what we call the CEBA. But I'm very proud of the way the Conservatives have handled themselves in the House. And Tamara said it actually doesn't sit as the House, it sits as a COVID committee. But we do have a QP every day, 4 days a week. And I personally, when I was in Ottawa, I was able to hammer away at getting changes to that loan arrangement. And some of those have now been implemented. So I think it was Colleen who said, right, to people who are on this call, if you did not qualify for the CEBA loan, please try again on Friday or maybe Monday, because there are some changes that we, the Conservative Party, have really advocated for. I'm very happy to see that they've been implemented. I'm looking forward to receiving your questions and listening to what some of the other speakers are going to say as well. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much to you all. Yes, the daily changes keeps us on our toes, let's put it that way. And I mean it with any of the programs as they constantly change. My theory now is just try again. Keep applying and just try again, because the next time you might hit the lucky number and get it right. I don't know anymore. So this is going to be interesting. So I'm thinking some of the questions I have are municipal, federal, some of them are for everybody. So we'll kind of try and play it kindly here, because this could turn into a giant issue of the Brady Bunch, as Valerie mentioned. Provincially, let's go with this one first. Any idea when government offices, Work BC, ICBC, etc., may return to being open for the public?
I guess the short answer to that is it depends.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like what Colleen was saying about everything else, is it tends to change. I think what we're finding, and this is probably true for all levels of government, it's easier to close something down than it is to open something up. And I know a lot of the government agencies are finding that. They're struggling to find what the right level of open is, right? Does that mean in person? ICBC, of course, we're really concerned that they haven't started up with their driving tests in, we think, as quick a way as they could. There's got to be ways they can get moving on some of that stuff. So it's hard to say. There is no direct guidance from Dr. Henry or government. My advice for anybody who's waiting and watching, they all have websites. Keep going on, keep checking, and we'll keep pressing to see that things get as open as possible as soon as possible.
And on the WorkSafe side, Colleen, we've noticed that the occupational therapists are back in the game, physiotherapists. People are trying to do some stuff remotely are now going to appointments in places like Chilliwack and Richmond. So some of that seems to be getting back in, and that's good because some of these guys really did need their therapies. Particularly those who are dealing with significant injuries on the WorkSafe side. So I think you're slowly seeing some government stuff open up. Certainly, I've noticed in the last week or so, particularly a lot quicker response out of ministry offices when I've made inquiries versus to what it was a couple weeks ago.
Definitely. I think when you're talking about WorkSafe, there's some gray areas in there, like there's office openings and then there's retail openings, and it's getting into the specifics and nitty gritty. And I've said from day one, we have to be patient and kind with everybody, because I think everybody's going to roll things open differently and react to going out differently. One of the things the chamber is really working on is establishing that trust for people to go back out and shop and get out into the community. So we're rolling out a program in the next week. We're working with the township on one right now. If you take a photo of your work plan with yourself and send it off to the township, they'll send you a lovely poster that says you're ready for business. So we're working on that with a few other things as well. The chamber is going to be doing some videos over the next week showing some of the people that are doing it really well and saying, hey, this is an opportunity. So again, turning something crazy into a really great opportunity for people. Thank you. So there's been a lot of questions. I got 3 or 4 questions from the city and the township wondering when, and I know that Val mentioned that their pool's opening, but when would parks, pools, rec centers, and the event center possibly be opening? So Jack, do you want to take that first, and then we'll
You know, we have, first of all, the Emergency Operations Center has been up and running for about 3 months now. And there's, you know, like a restart committee there looking at all of the facilities and how we're going to open them. And I really like that comment about it's easier to close than it is to open. Closing was, okay, we're closed and that's it. Shut the door, everybody go home, and then we'll figure it out from there. But opening is how to do it safely. With the pools, it's the making sure that the change rooms are sanitary, make sure the distancing in the pools and all those things are working through that. Recreation centers, the same thing. Even our civic center, you know, tax time is coming. There's a lot of people still like to come in person and pay their taxes. So we're opening that up. I went down there just yesterday to pay a little bill, you know, to the township, and did it through the cage. But they want to open that up a bit, but still keeping the safety. So there's a lot of challenges in making sure that we do it, ensure that our staff are safe, the public are safe, and that we can do it in a responsible way. So we're working with the committee, and they're also working with other municipalities in the region. The engineers have their group and get together. The CEOs, they're all looking at trying to be consistent. Where we're finding some challenges is some communities might have recreation centers or pools that are run by contractors and they are opening sooner. We still are working with the different organizations that have a say, and it could be the Lifeguards Association, or it could be our unions. It could be, you know, we all want to make sure that everyone's on board before we launch into this. So no real answer on when everything's opening, but we are, as I've seen in my community, more and more things are opening. I'm seeing playgrounds opening up. I'm seeing more and more things slowly getting back. The tennis courts are opening. People are playing tennis again. So things are opening slowly, but it's not an overnight. We're not turning the switch on. It's not like a light switch. It takes time.
Perfect. Thanks, Jack. Val?
Yeah, we share the EOC with the township, so we've been doing it step by step, kind of together as much as we can. And like Jack said, the CEOs across the region, everybody is working together at different levels, so to speak. City Hall is open for taxes only. Rec centers and everything else will come slowly but surely. We're just following the directions of the provincial orders. That's all we can do. You know, safety of our staff is priority one, making sure they feel safe and secure. We do have a recreation survey going on right now. We're looking for input about how people feel and all that kind of stuff. So you can go to our website at langleycity.ca. We also have all the information on there that we worked with you folks, Colleen, at the Chamber and the DLBA. We've got a new economic task force, so to speak, website, part of our website up. So you can click on there and get all the relevant information that you need. So we'll be announcing on there when and what we're reopening and that sort of thing. But I really encourage people to go there and take that recreation survey right now, because we want to hear from people. So pools next, spray parks, all that kind of stuff. It's coming.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's switch it up to federal, because we'll kind of move around the panel here. You guys get the hard question, because you're not spending the money, but you're going to get the hard question. So how does the federal government anticipate Canadians will be able to pay back the trillions of dollars that have been spent on COVID relief?
Well,
I did not break them.
I'll jump in on that one, and I'm sure Tamara will have an opinion too. Tamara had mentioned that yesterday there was a town hall where our shadow Minister of Finance, Pierre Poilievre, was in attendance, and he speaks very, I would say, eloquently on the topic. We're talking big dollars. Our total national debt is going to be about $1 trillion. That's 1,000 billion. In case you don't understand what a trillion is, it's a very big number. And the only way that it is sustainable so far is that our interest rates are at historic lows. I think the government gets money at 1.5% to 2%. But if interest rates double to 4%, which is completely conceivable, that is going to be a very big bill that needs to be paid every year. Money that goes to service the debt is money that cannot go into infrastructure, that can't go into health transfers, that can't go to helping transit authorities fund their operations. So yeah, how are we going to pay it off is a question. This will not be done overnight. Conservatives are not afraid of debt. We are afraid of uncontrolled debt. So we keep hammering away at that. The Conservative Party is on record as being in support of the CERB program and the wage subsidy. And in the breakout session, if I could just jump back to that, we were hearing realtors saying about how good the real estate market is here in Langley in the Fraser Valley. And I think that underlines the fact that there's a lot of consumer confidence yet. And so, the federal government did the right thing. There's a crisis and they put liquidity into the marketplace. So that has our support, but we need to, the Canadians need to understand that we are talking real dollars here that are going to have to be managed somehow. And if interest rates go up, that's going to take some very tough decisions.
Thank you, Tako. Tamara.
Yes, so I think that the government's going to have to really leverage what Canadians do best, and that is be entrepreneurial. I think we need to support business as much as we can. I really actually believe that's the heart of our economy. And if we can ensure that people can get back to work and that there's minimum red tape that they can actually get creative and start pumping jobs back online, I think that will help us to move the economy back in the right direction. There's no easy answers. There's absolutely no easy answers. I know that we were shocked to find out that the federal government has not actually even made any long-term commitments for their borrowing, which, I mean, if you have a mortgage and you know that it's possible that interest rates are going to go high and you've got the lowest interest rates right now, you'd lock her in. And apparently we haven't been locking in. So that's a bit worrisome. We like to push on that. But honestly, I think we need to make sure that we do what Canadians do best, which is get creative, do business, and just get out of their way.
Perfect. Thanks, Tamara. That's great. And I agree. It's going to be up to the entrepreneurs to kind of, for lack of a better word, pivot us through this stage and figure out what they're going to do new. Next question is sort of on the same lines, but it goes out to the province and to the municipalities. What economic stimulus issues are BC and municipal leaders advocating for at a federal level for long-term economic resilience? Rich?
Well, our list is pretty long, but I think we have to recognize that, as Tamara and Tako said, this national debt's going to be a challenge. And what Canada needs to do is get back in the business of resources. So as we come out of COVID, moving our resources to tidewater, our oil, our natural gas are going to be critical to the future of British Columbia and Canada, quite frankly. We have to, as a country and as a province, let people know we're open for business to invest in our country and our province. Because we don't do that, we're not going to get the jobs that are going to be needed to be able to manage the debt to GDP we're going to be facing. And I think we have to be maybe a bit tougher as we come out of this to make sure we're going to focus on this stuff, because we are not a manufacturing country in many areas of our country, but we are very resource rich. And we need to get our, the resources that the rest of the world wants even just your iPhone, it's made up of mining products. It's not made up of things that just come from somewhere. And a lot of those products and resources come from Canada. So BC has to refocus on the management of their debt to GDP. They'll have to refocus on how they're going to manage British Columbia, and it has to definitely focus on our resource sector, everything from forestry right through the mining and natural gas, because otherwise, if we don't do that, the rest of the economy is not going to be sustainable. And the best thing we could have, the next step, where there's almost 200,000 people out of work in the tourism and food industry, and we want them back to work, but it's tough when you can't open the borders because our tourism comes outside of British Columbia's borders for a large part. So that's going to have to be a really significant focus on behalf of BC.
Great. Anybody else, Mary?
Yeah, so Rich has talked about the resource sector, and of course that's our bread and butter in British Columbia. But there's also, when you come out of something like this, you need some short-term stimulus. And in British Columbia, that, well, in any jurisdiction, that doesn't just have to be spending. It can also be foregone revenue. And one of the things that we've been advocating for is, as we reopen, to start to really give a boost to small business in particular, but generally speaking, is to provide a holiday from PST. Give a break on PST for a specific length of time, just to encourage people to get back out there, start shopping, start spending money. We think that's one way that you can trigger that kind of participation in the marketplace that we need to see from the people who have the money, from consumers, right? So that's another aspect that we've been encouraging in terms of trying to get things off the ground and give a little spurt to what's going to be a struggle to get ourselves back up on our feet.
And I think a big one on that might also be, that's amongst our network, a huge talk, is instead of the deferral on the EHT, is actually giving, yes, let's set that back for a little while, because the deferral doesn't help. You've been closed for 6 months, you come back from a deferral and you're slammed with a bill.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And that's where I think somehow, I don't know why, it's easier for governments to think about writing a check and putting out money as opposed to thinking, how do we forego some revenue? And if we forego that revenue, wouldn't it make it easier on the businesses that are trying to open? And, you know, put aside, there's all sorts of regulatory pieces that could be delayed for the time being, understanding that businesses are under pressure right now, and say, you know, let's just wait. Let's wait on increasing to regulations, or, you know, there's issues around minimum wage, all sorts of things that are additional cost to businesses that, you know, couldn't we delay for a time just till people get back on their feet? And we think that's a really important place for governments to look, that they don't necessarily right off the bat.
Okay. Jack, Val?
Yeah, just, you know, thinking back just a few short months in the middle of February, Mayor Val and I and Mayor Kennedy Stewart from Vancouver were in Ottawa being wined and dined lavishly by Tamara and Tako. Well, that's not, it wasn't really lavishly. We went to Barbie.
I wouldn't call it that, Jack.
Okay. I'm trying to get him in trouble a little bit. Come on. Anyways, we went there specifically with TransLink to specifically advocate for some of the major projects that we're doing here in our region. A few short months later, we're now saying, wow, you know, are these things going to be moving ahead? The Surrey Langley SkyTrain, other projects that we're doing. Metro Vancouver has some very large infrastructure projects that need to be done. They're dealing with our water, our wastewater, that sort of things. These are multi hundreds of millions of dollars projects. And so what we're still doing is we're still advocating for that, because, you know, we also understand that the economy needs to be restarted. People need to have jobs. And TransLink has had a major drop in ridership due to COVID. It's slowly coming back. And transit has been seen as you know, a service that is required, that we can't let it stop. It's very important to everybody to be able to get to where they're going. So we're continuing to advocate for that, and we're ready to go on some of these projects. We're saying these are important to our economy. They're important to the people that use these facilities and like transit and our drinking water and that sort of thing. So I think, you know, I don't want to think negatively that while so much money has been spent on other things, we're not going to get it to build these big projects. I think we will. And I think it's going to help Canada. It's going to help the province get these get jobs and get these projects going, get money into the economy, and that's a big part of it. So we're still working hard on that to get these projects done for our region and also for the two Langleys. And I know
I agree. I think it's, I mean, if you look back on any major event through history, World War II, for an example, coming out of World War II to stimulate the economy, you start building and infrastructure projects. And I think at this point, I've talked to all of you over time saying, be ready to run up the flagpole and put your hand up, because the shovel-ready projects such as George Massey Tunnel, you know, Broadway SkyTrain to Langley, expanding the highway from 216th to, oh, I don't know, Chilliwack. All of those things are going to be opportunities where it'll provide jobs, stimulus, use some resources, all of those things. Sorry, I interrupted. Val?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, yeah, exactly what Jack was saying. Being on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, I've been working very hard on that angle as well, to keep SLS line at the top of the list. And I have, I know the PM's office and the Premier's office hates me, I'm pretty sure, because I continuously call them and I'm like that little bug. I'm not going away. I'm like, no, SLS is a good shovel-ready project. We're ready to go. All three of us mayors are on board, you know, McCallum, Froese, and me. Let's do this. So yeah, we've been, and another thing, you know, with Metro, I'm on the liquid waste board. You know, that's another shovel-ready project, is the wastewater treatment center in Township. That's huge. It's going to create a lot of jobs. It's we need it, and we need to get TransLink going again, and we need to get you know, people to work and school and all those places. The other thing we've done in the city is we've applied for capital funds under the federal provincial Investing in Canada's Infrastructure Program, and that is a project to rehabilitate the roadway and utilities on Fraser Highway and Douglas Crescent, 204 to 206. So besides replacing everything underground, we want to do everything above ground. You know, with COVID, we need this distancing. So this is a prime opportunity to create bigger, wider sidewalks. So it's more pedestrian friendly. That'll get people out spending money. You know, that's one of the things that we really need to think about here, is getting people out and shopping. I know people are still very hesitant about doing that. And what I was going to say before, when you guys were talking about WCB, I have talked to several businesses in the downtown core here, and WCB has been in there to check on them. And they've all passed with flying colors. Been trying to advertise that as much as possible. They've been helping other businesses in the downtown core set up. So, you know, it's just nice to see everybody's just coming together and working together, and just all levels of government. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Colleen, could I jump in on that? On SkyTrain, as a federal MP for Langley Aldergrove, every opportunity I have, I mention the shovel-ready project for SkyTrain. They said it's fully funded from downtown Surrey to Fleetwood. You know, don't let the workers put their shovels down. Keep on going. We need the funding in place. So, you know, I don't know. I promise you this, that I will keep trying. I don't know if I can promise you success, but certainly the government side is definitely aware that this is a project that is ready to go. And also, I had a few conversations with Mayor Jack in the last little while about funding for, you know, operations. And I know we got a letter from Federation of Canadian Municipalities saying, hey, we need some money, we're in trouble, right? We need $10 billion. And anyways, I was in Ottawa last week, and I took the opportunity in QP to also ask a question about funding for transit authorities. And I mentioned TransLink, a very, very well-run organization with really good numbers, good statistics. But, you know, they're like every other transit authority in the country. They're hurting and they need help. And I know the provincial government has stepped in to cover the wage gap, right? Because TransLink doesn't qualify for the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy. So thankfully, the province stepped in for that. You know, does the federal government have some money also to be able to help transit authorities? Because what you do is so important. You know, I talked about getting essential workers to their essential jobs. and you know, transit authorities across the country, of course, are going to help relaunch the economy once things open up again.
And if I can just jump in, I think that the big thing that we've been trying to do is remind them in Ottawa that the West should be treated equally, because it looks like some transit authorities out east got money that we didn't get. So we're like, no. We really need you guys to remember that we have a big need as well.
So understanding that the public health officer kind of trumps all right now, I'm going to go forward with the next question, just premising it with that. Alberta is allowed groups up to 100 outside and 50 inside. Would you support working with the public health officer to allow gatherings of 100 outside with distance measuring guidelines?
Are you asking me?
Sure, you can start, Tamara.
Okay. So I think, you know, the more the science comes out, the more we start to see, you know, where are the worst outbreaks, and obviously we've seen that. Being on the health committee, I get to hear a lot about it. Most of the really bad outbreaks have happened in places where you're indoors and you're in tight quarters. So cruise ships, long-term care centers, bunkhouses, you know, things where you're really tight. Whereas, you know, you can see that people have been out in the streets and in fairly close quarters, and we're not seeing huge spikes from that. And the science seems to say that, you know, if we do safe distance and we do wear masks and we do wash our hands, that it's actually, you know, that those things do mitigate a lot of the risks. So I would love to be able to see that, you know, we start to, as Mayor Val was saying, give people the confidence that if they take those cautions, those precautions, we are able to get back out onto the streets. We're able to get back out into the parks and, you know, get back to a little bit of a normal life again.
Perfect, thanks, Tamara. Anybody else want to take a stab at that one?
I'll have a go, just because Bonnie Henry's the one with the 50-person thing and she's provincial. You know, the health officials are trying to do the best job they can, you know, based on the science. And sometimes they're doing that in a context where they don't necessarily understand how a particular business might operate or how a particular function might occur. It's not part of their training, their experience. I'll say this though, what we have been really advocating for is some clarity. And I think that's what a lot of businesses are struggling with, and a lot of organizations are struggling with, is how is that 50-person rule fitting the context, right? We want to make sure everybody's safe. And we know, for example, Bonnie Henry spoke a number of days ago about a particular outbreak that occurred because a family had a gathering of 30 people. They weren't careful about social distancing. And out of those 30 people, 15 people became infected with COVID. So it can happen, and we need to be mindful of that. But I think what we hope for is that the public health officer is always balancing correctly our desire as a society and our need to be able to be together again with the necessary safety precautions. Part of that is going to be how well we all conform to the safety instructions, right? You can gather more people together if you're going to be careful about your spacing and your distancing. And I'm sure for Bonnie Henry, a whole lot of her decision making is based on, does she believe that people are going to adhere to that? So it's a partnership between all of us.
And Mary's right about the clarity piece, particularly. You know, people want to know what the clarity of opening is and the stability. So we've had a bit of a glitch in the last couple of weeks. We allowed bars and restaurants to open up, and they were told 50%. So they actually spent money on their separation and their plexiglass and what have you to get ready. And then within 2 weeks, the rules changed to, like, as long as you can social distance in your space, you can have that many people, which changed the business model for folks. And I think it's important that we don't get to where the clarity takes us to frustration, where people just throw up their hands and say, you know what, enough of this. We're just going to do what we want to do. And that's what we have happen.
And I think that for business to be able to go forward, we do need to know that there's going to be some consistency as well. It's been extremely difficult. Like nobody wants to invest if next week the rules completely change. So I understand that things are changing quickly as the science becomes more available. But in the meantime, we cannot expect businesses to invest if we're not going to say this is how we're going to do things.
That's right. Absolutely.
I
On
agree.
the municipality, what we've done, we've had some requests from, first it started with the tasting rooms of breweries to be able to open up the patios consistent with the province's rules. And so, we as a municipality are trying to keep up with the changes too, and assist businesses in expediting their permits and that sort of thing, and making sure that we're still looking after the community and safety. So it's part of the work that our EOC does is trying to interpret what's coming down from the health officer and then trying to interpret that in a way and put it into practice that we can help our businesses expand. So we are looking at ways to allow more, open up for food trucks. Patios can now be expanded a lot easier, a lot quicker. Just trying to assist businesses. And we need to hear from business too. If they're running into a roadblock at the municipality, and there's a rule that perhaps 4 months ago was okay for us to deal with it the way we did then, but now things have changed. We have to hear from them and certainly want to respond to those concerns and try and be as smooth as possible to ensure to help businesses get through this. So we have to do our part, but we also need to hear from the business community on what their needs are.
I agree. Thanks, Jack. And I have to admit, like 1,000 members, just over 1,000 members here at the chamber, and any of the feedback we've gotten is that, okay, this doesn't work for me. Then within the next couple of days, they get help and it works for them. And they phone me back and go, it really does work to sort of put your hand up and say, I need help. So I'm really appreciating the fact that every one of you have been available for me to reach out, or my team, and say, we need help with this, or this is what's sort of holding us back. And as a network, federally and provincially, we've had great success in getting some of these things changed. And we've always been a conduit of information, and now more so than ever. So I really appreciate that. We've got about 6 minutes left. So I'm trying to pick a doozy of a last question sort of to hit everybody with, but we've covered off on a lot of different things, and I really appreciate it. One quick question for Rich. I'm going to throw this at you because this might actually be the last time I get to do this, isn't it, Rich? This might be your last big chamber thing. Are you still retiring?
I've got I don't know. It depends on when the election comes.
Okay.
Right. So it could be a year or a year and a half.
Okay. So we might have so this might be your last big question for me, but any further discussion on re-upgrading the George Massey Tunnel to a bridge?
You know what? It should be. That's the most frustrating project to all of us, particularly in the BC Liberals. We had it designed. We had it bid. It came in $900 million under budget. We've got preloads sitting by the tunnel, tens of thousands of dollars invested. We actually changed some of the marine stuff in the channel above the bridge to be able to handle different radio frequencies and stuff like that, and shipping stuff, so we could go ahead and do it. This is one where the NDP made a political decision what was wrong for everybody in the lower mainland of British Columbia and everybody that has to commute from South Delta all the way through to White Rock, and even people from here. That bridge needs to be built, and they should quit dilly-dallying and just get on with it.
Thank you. I'm not going to let everybody else take that because I think he handled it awesome. And in my personal opinion, it's another shovel.
Oh, Mary used to be highways minister, so I can see you're giggling because
I know she's laughing, but I couldn't resist.
Sorry, Colleen, I'll be very quick, but I do want to jump in on this. I put in a formal request to the government side for an update on funding on 2 projects, the SkyTrain to Langley project. And the answer I got was, with regard to federal funding for SkyTrain to Langley, Infrastructure Canada has not committed any federal program funding. However, the project is currently under review. And then check with your provincial government. And I had a second one for the George Massey replacement. And here's the answer I got, and this is February 26th. With regard to federal funding for the George Massey Tunnel replacement project, Infrastructure Canada has not committed any federal program funding, period. Not even it's under consideration. And then they say, again, go to your provincial counterparts. So Rich, Mary, that's what I'm doing. we need to get that project going as well.
Can I just say this? Only this. The chances of a tunnel being approved environmentally, either federally or provincially, are pretty much zero. And I say that as the Minister of Environment who reviewed options, including a tunnel. And so, you know, we'll see how they make out with their tunnel proposal. But if I was going to bet $1 million, I'd bet $1 million that no federal environmental approval or provincial environmental approval would be granted for a tunnel anywhere on the Fraser in 21st century Canada.
Agreed. So let's build another beautiful bridge.
We're good at it. We build nice bridges.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you for that. I think instead of going to another question, I'm actually going to ask each of you to just give us a quick little wrap up of what you see for our community moving forward. What kind of things are you hopeful for? What do you think that people will turn around? And what kind of things do you want to see grow in our community as we move forward past this? Tamara, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'll let you go first.
Okay. I mean, obviously, small business is close to my heart. I think that is the absolute that's the way that we move forward for sure. And as Rich and Mary were talking about, we're rich in natural resources. Let us, you know, use the things that are close at hand that will really help us move forward. But for me, I'm also very concerned about things like seniors in our community, mental health issues, addiction problems, homelessness. I think these are all things that we, you know, you can really see during this pandemic how all of our neighbors have stepped up to really help those that are most vulnerable in our community. It's been amazing, and I'd like to see that continue. I'd like to continue to advocate at the federal level that we look to help these local entities continue the work that they're doing here, and really, you know, continue that. It's been amazing to watch.
Great, thank you, Tamara, and thank you for all the hard work you've been doing. I know I've been in touch with your staff all the time, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Tako?
Good. Well, thank you, Colleen. Thank you for putting this on, and for all the participants. I've enjoyed the questions and the conversation. As a member of Parliament here on the west coast of Canada, I'm learning something that I knew already, of course, but now it comes to new life, and that is how important the west coast is to Canada. I'm very much a proponent for Canadian unity. There's lots of stresses and strains within Confederation. So I'm doing my best, as Tamara is, as my other fellow BC colleagues are doing, to you know, pull Canada together, to do what we can, because together we're going to be a much stronger nation. Transportation things are very big. You know, the Port of Vancouver, for example, is so important to Canada's economy. And, you know, that brings us back to some of the transportation links, including the George Massey Tunnel, how important that is. That is not just a Delta project, it's not just a Fraser Valley project, it is a Canadian project. So that is the piece that I'm doing to help make Canada a stronger place, just to make sure that British Columbia's economy is strong and vibrant as a West Coast anchor for this great country.
Great, and thank you, Tako. And thank you, Tako's and I've had quite a few conversations lately on different projects and policies we were moving forward that he was working on. So it's brought us closer together through COVID. We'll look at it that way. So thank you very much to everybody. Also, I just want to remind before I break into everybody else that we do have, we are asking you for feedback on Slido. If you get a few minutes to log in, you can just give us some feedback on tonight's event. I know that my staff have dropped the chat link into the chat box there for you to click on. People are starting to log off because they've got busy, but Mary, over to you.
Yeah, so here we are in the middle of something that none of us wanted to be a part of. But as tough as this has been, I think we can all look around the world and say we're pretty glad we're in Canada. And in Canada, we're pretty glad we're in BC. And so to extend that, I would say if we look to the future, which is one of the things you asked about, I guess I think about my daughter. She's 32. She now lives with me here in Langley, used to be a downtown Vancouver, you know, devotee. And now she's saying, you know, I don't think I'm going back to Vancouver. I think there's a lot of people looking at places like Langley and thinking, you know, this is the place I'm going to want to live. This is the place I'm going to want to live, raise my family. And for our businesses, for our community, that's our opportunity, right? We're a growing community. We're making our own future. And I think for all the people that are here, you look at the quality of people that are on this call, look at the people you bump into the community. We've just got such a valuable place. The future I see is for Langley to be an increasingly growing place, and a place that becomes a center of not just commerce, but family life, and a place we all love to live. And, you know, aren't we glad we're in Canada and in BC and in Langley?
Great. Thank you, Mary. Rich? Oh, we're still muted.
What I'd really like to see, Colleen, I mean, our community is going to come back. It's strong, but I'd really like to see more and more opening up, and not just in the stores and the economy, but quite frankly, I'd like to see kids on the ice. I'd like to see kids playing soccer. I'd like to see people in the fields. I'd like to see the gymnastic kids back in the event center. I think that we're a really healthy community we have, because we've really built the infrastructure of trails and sporting fields and all the stuff that we have. And the sooner we can get those guys back, the kids healthy and active and stuff, the better for their mental health as their parents. And I think, you know, as we come through, I hope that Dr. Henry and others realize the numbers that we're facing. We've got 4.7 million people, and we have like 12 or 13 people that are actually in hospitals. So we really need to start getting our community healthy again, because that interaction, I'm seeing the stresses in families. And I think if they could all get back out and actually enjoy the outdoors and stuff, and enjoy activities again, it'd be healthy for everybody.
Great. Thanks, Rich. Mayor Val, I know you have another meeting to go to, because I have to go to it as well. So I'll let you go first, and then we'll get Jack up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I just what everybody's been saying. I think going forward, business is super important. Just getting everybody out and about again. You know, I'm just so grateful to be here with everybody on this panel. You guys are all fantastic, and we've all been working together, and it's crazy times. Like when I ran for mayor, nobody told me that this would happen. Like Mary said, and you know what though, everybody's just kind of come together and done what we need to do. And I think if that continues, and we respect each other, and we have patience with each other, you know, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I know I sound like a broken record when I'm saying that, but you know, we're not over this yet, and we're not near it, but we can take baby steps. We can work together, and like I said, patience and kindness, because I mean, even with the Zoom meetings, people are impatient, like they want to talk right now. And I think we really need to take this as an opportunity to change, and to start some businesses or organizations start from scratch and tear everything down, look at what you have as an inventory, and move forward with that. And I think this is a great opportunity, and I think a lot of people will take advantage of that, and it'll do them so much more, yeah, in the long run. It'll pay off. So that's all I have to say. So good night. I'm gonna crush out of here because I have an economic task force meeting. So wonderful seeing everyone. Yes, I'll see you in a minute. So thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, Val. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
All right, I'll just, you know, great comments from everyone. And I think back to 3 months ago when this really hit in Langley, middle of March. And a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, didn't know what was coming. And I just thought we're very resilient. I thought, you know, back to our forefathers, just in this last century, World War I, World War II, or Depression, and World War II. And every time we as a country and communities got through it. And we got through it because we worked together. And I have such faith in our people here in British Columbia and Canada that I says, we're going to get through this too. This is just, you know, we get these challenges through history. A friend of my brother's who's probably in the 70s, early 70s, said, yeah, we just about made it all the way through our generation without anything. And we did just about make it. But, you know, this is not unique. You know, we say unprecedented, it's not unprecedented. Challenges have happened to humankind throughout the millennium, and we've always found a way to work through it. And I think it's because of the nature of Canadians, the nature of our people here. And I'm really proud to be here in Langley and to see the resiliency that people have. Yes, it's been difficult, and yes, people have lost their lives, and it's extremely sad that this has had to come. But you know, we as a community will get through, and it's just because of great people that live here, and we've heard it tonight about people are kinder, people are more patient, and we're getting some really good things coming out of this crisis, and we're coming out on the other side of it, I think, better than we were in the beginning. So, but thank you again for hosting this. This is an excellent opportunity for 6 politicians to talk, and look forward to the next one. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Jack. So I just want to take a minute to share my screen with the last slide there. If you wouldn't mind giving us your feedback, we'd appreciate it. I'll just leave that up there for just a second. Most of you found Slido is also in the link, and it'll be up for the evening, so please give us some feedback. I just want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, the Port of Vancouver. Again, this was our dinner meeting on March 17th that we canceled abruptly on the 13th. And the bizarre part about that day was I remember sort of seeing and hearing some things in the community, and Surrey Board of Trade canceled a major event. And I sat down with my team and said, my gut says we don't go ahead with this. And we canceled the meeting. And I had a few board members say, oh, I think you're overreacting. A few people in the community went, oh, what do you mean you're not going to host the event? And within 24 hours, the casino was closed. Things were like, it just happened so quick. I want to thank you all for taking the time and for coming out to our non-dinner virtual dinner meeting. I would like nothing more to buy all 6 of you and everybody else here come out for dinner as soon as we possibly can. I look forward to having a glass of wine and talking and breaking bread. We'll go back to another chamber chicken dinner. As much as I used to joke about chamber chicken, now I'm looking forward to a chamber chicken dinner. Thank you to all of my board members, past and present, on the call tonight. Thank you to everybody for coming out. Be kind, be patient, and as Dr. Bonnie says, be safe. Thanks very much to everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Sumner. I have to jump to another call. Thank you, everybody, again.